A lot of loan officers are, give me your info, here's your deal, let's do it. And they don't let the customer know really what's going on. And I feel like I really try to teach and train each buyer through the process because I don't want them to have questions. Mm-hmm. And another thought of mine in my philosophy in the business is if you have to call me and ask a question, whether you be the customer or a realtor, right. I failed if you called me. Right. That means I didn't communicate the information quick enough and in a good enough manner for you to get it. Mm-hmm. So I try to communicate the process better than anybody else.
Hey, I'm Travis Brown, and I build personal brands that create company profits. For the last 20 plus years, I've invested my time connecting with people, building marketing strategies, growing companies, business coaching, and yes, after 2,500 plus paid talks, my number one passion is still walking on that stage to help people achieve things they never thought possible. And this is my podcast. So today I'm super excited to have with me longtime friend Brad Niccum. Brad is one of those guys for me that I go is the greatest salesperson that I've ever met. The way he talks to people, the way he puts people at ease, the way he sells anything, just absolutely phenomenal. But also a great husband, a great father, and a longtime friend. Brad, my man, welcome to the podcast. All right,
first podcast.
So coming out of the gate, I know you love marketing, brand, sales, that kind of stuff. So what is, in your mind, the best brand of all time to you?
The best brand of all time to me? Like, can there be like different areas that this brand is good?
Different areas. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, because Martin is a great brand. This guitar right here. That's probably one of my favorite guitar brands of all brands because they're like old school, been around forever, make a great product, and they're real subtle in everything they do. Like nothing like is crazier out there.
So why did you have to categorize that? What are
because there's other great brands,
like
Tommy Bahama. That's a great brand. Rolex. That's a great brand. Okay, so my favorite brand of all the brands, Apple. Apple's the best.
Why is that?
Because they're the best. It's not the cheapest. Sometimes they're not even really in the right cost category for what they have, but they're the best.
Interesting. I'm an Apple guy too. You know, Patrick on the other side of these cameras, he's an Android guy. I discredit all those guys, and I'm not sure if I even trust people that use Androids. But
I used an Android phone once, and then when I got my first Apple phone, I literally felt like I climbed out of a stagecoach into a car. It was like that much better.
Oh, so Brad, we go way back, 20 years, more than 20 years now.
Plus 20, yeah.
When I was a young guy trying to figure out how to succeed in the mortgage business. Do you remember what those days were like trying to deal with me?
No, you were easy because you were, you soaked in all the information, and then you were able to put that information to work all the time, and you had an outgoing personality. So you were one of the easier guys in the mortgage business. You were just hard to rein in and keep in one spot.
There we go. Yeah. There's some truth there. So let's just jump in. Tell me about your journey to success.
Can you let me know when I'm going to get there?
But I'm all serious because I think, I was talking to a young guy today, and I was trying to explain, 21, sharp, and I was trying to explain to him that, man, you got a journey ahead. And don't try to make decisions today for tomorrow to be the end-all, be-all, because one thing I know at 43 is that it takes so much time.
Right. And
you have way more time than you think that you do, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. And so your success isn't overnight by any means. So what was that journey like?
Well, it's hard. It's a lot of work. And success is not, to me, it's not about the dollar amount that you make, or it's not about what your job title is. Success is about having a great family, an amazing wife, being able to spend the time together that we want to spend, and then actually really feeling rewarded from the work that you do, from the help that you give other people. It's not about the paycheck. Now, I'm not going to say, they say, so money can't buy happiness, right? We were always told that. But my wife and I have not had a fight one time about having too much money in the checkbook. But when it was short, well, we had some good ones then. So money makes life a lot easier. But really the success to me is more about having the friends, having the family, and enjoying what you do every day.
It's funny you said about money. My wife and I were having this conversation the other day, and I said, you know what? My whole goal in life is to make enough money so that we never have to have another money conversation.
Right.
Like if I get to that point, like that just makes, absolute peace.
But you realize you switch to different kind of money conversations.
Right.
Because, then you have tax issues that you don't want to have, or you have issues of how much money you can have in certain accounts, and then it changes that ballgame again. You have different conversations.
But interesting enough, you talked about success. So what would you say for Brad Niccum is your greatest success?
Oh, my kids. My 3 kids. That's the greatest success all of them. To think about how we started out, literally as kids having kids. 23 years old, 24 years old with 3 kids. We were kids with kids. And the troublemaker that I was in school, a lot of people don't even know how much of a troublemaker I was in school. And then to have 3 kids that have a work ethic, that really strive at what they do and are being successful in what they do, that's
So how'd that happen? So
my wife. I already know. It wasn't nothing.
I mean... And your wife is an absolute saint. I love Tony. Known her for obviously, for 20 plus years too. But it takes more than one person to raise great kids.
Right.
And in your family, you've done that. So what do you think is the greatest lesson you've taught your kids?
Just to work hard and to have a dream that you can make stuff happen. Not to let, what do we used to say? Some stinking thinker, right? Is that what stinking thinking?
Yeah.
To have somebody tell you can't. When you can't, that's the thing. Brittany wanted to, be successful. She wanted to get her doctorate. There'd be people in high school that would say, oh, you can't be a doctor or whatever. And we just always encouraged her, and she's a doctor. Blake was racing motocross, kind of getting a start, racing the amateur series, also playing football. The high school football coach said, hey, you need to choose between football and racing motocross, because we were going to go to nationals and he was going to miss a practice, right? And the kid was in better shape than most of the kids in football. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I probably don't have any chance of being a pro football player. I'm a 5'1" and I weigh 90 pounds, right? And the coach says, well, most people don't end up professional athletes. So he got his pro card. He became a professional athlete before he graduated from high school. Got to let the coach know, because the coach became the weight trainer, and he was a senior, so he took weight training, and he could lift more of his body weight than anybody else. He had, just amazing shape, do more pull-ups than anybody else. And the coach said, Niccum, why didn't you play football? And he said, well, you told me I should choose, and this is my pro card. And he showed him his pro card, and so it was like, okay, well, I probably should have let you do both sports. And then, my youngest, Logan, who has always wanted to be an actor, and we're like, hey, go for it, do what you want to do. And through high school had lead parts at Park Tudor's Summer Stock. Got to go to Fordham University to do a thing on Broadway. Works currently as a full-time actor at Conner Prairie while he's finishing up his degree at Ball State. 3 completely different things, but they each have a focus and really a decision to go make it happen and not let someone else tell them they couldn't do it. So I think that's probably the coolest thing. And being married for 30 years, that's a pretty awesome deal too.
Yeah. So
that's easy for me.
That's a whole nother, whole other show. But what's the key to being married for 30 years? Other than marrying a saint.
I was to say I married a complete and total saint. But really, it's being on the same page, knowing that there's things that each person enjoys separately and let them enjoy those things, but also make sure that you do a lot of things together. Listening, listening's probably the number one thing. Most people are listening to a person talk, and while that person is talking and they're listening, they're really thinking about what they're gonna say.
That's kind of what I'm doing right now with this whole show.
So when your wife's talking to you and you're thinking about your response, you're not listening to her. And we're both good at listening to each other. We really don't have arguments. We did when we were young, but now it's like we're all pretty much on the same wavelength.
So we're sitting in your home office, and we have this cool. I wanted to do this here because I thought this is it's a cool place. It's like it's completely out of my scope and realm because it has all these rock guys and guitars and stuff. But this is your thing, right? This has been a big part of your life. When I say that thing, music.
Huge part, yeah. I loved music as a kid. That was actually my goal, was to go off to a music school in L.A. and be the next Johnny Cougar Mellencamp, or I used to say Johnny Hoosier Mellenbulbs. That was kind of my goal, right? And then my girlfriend got pregnant, so put the guitar in the closet and went to work because I had to be a dad. So decided to be responsible.
And so now, how a few years later, because your oldest, Brittany's how old?
31.
31 years later.
We've been married 30 years.
Let's
do the math.
Got the math. So how does music kind of resurface in your life now? Because you have your professional world, and we'll get to it in a few minutes. But music is a part of your world today.
Yeah, music's an escape. So when you do work as much as I do, and you answer your phone all the time, and you're always on go, sometimes you need something that makes your brain stop doing that. And music does that for me. I had a kid that we raced motocross with posted a song on Facebook, and I heard it, and I called him and said, wow, you should come over, we can play guitar together. And he came over, and we played guitar a few days in a row, and next thing you know, we started doing some gigs in a bar, and I played with him for like a year, and then decided to do some on my own, and had another guy that played guitar for me, and we played some bars and clubs and just had fun with it. And then I've met some great people in the music business.
Yeah, because you got some connections of some guys that are actually playing, doing it, and some cool stories.
Yeah, a great friend of mine, Riley Green. He currently has had a #1 song on country music radio called "There Was a Girl." Has a song going up the charts right now called "I Wish Grandpa's Never Died." He's on Big Machine Records.
Oh, that's one you played for me.
Yeah,
that's actually a cool one.
That's
for
a good
country.
tune.
I could get
country.
that.
Yeah, for music, it's a good song. So Patrick listened to it, and he's like, "That's a great writing," because it's great writing. But also Alex Williams, who's on Big Machine Records, currently touring all across the United States. Have friends that play in Nashville, Tennessee. Brent Browning's a great friend of mine, plays at Tootsie 6 days a week.
Now let me jump in here because this Tootsie story is one of my favorite because last year I went to Tootsie's for the first time.
How did you work, cowboy hat?
And while we were there, I went ahead and I should have brought my cowboy hat today. That would have been perfect for this, right? Because, I don't wear it too many places. So
Sure.
but I got this black cowboy hat. It's awesome. I was going to get the boots too. It just didn't work out. But nonetheless, we're in there, and my wife's a big country music fan, and it was just the atmosphere. And so for you to tell me you've played in there a couple times, how did that happen?
Well, my buddy Brent. So I met Brent through some other friends, and he plays there 6 days a week, and sometimes 2 sets 6 days a week. So 4-hour sets. So they'll play for 8 hours, and those boys on there don't get paid to play; they only get tips. So those boys walk in there, they pay to park their car downtown and onto a stage to play just for the tips that they get every day.
Really?
Yeah, that's every bar in Nashville. Those guys don't get paid to play; they're playing for tips.
And so you would do that just because you love to play and you can hustle?
With that, and a lot of people, live in Indiana, for instance, okay, and they got a dream to make it. So if you got a dream to make it, you pack up your guitar and you go to Nashville. And used to, you went to L.A., but now it doesn't matter the genre of music. It's all in Nashville. That's why it's called Music City.
So that's interesting because I think of Nashville as only country music.
No, you look at, some of the old school rock and rollers are there. Justin Timberlake has a house there. I mean, it is everybody's in Nashville. It's called music city. It's not called Country Music City.
Hmm.
And it's true. So Brent, became a good friend of mine. So many times we'd be in Nashville, and Hadley is a girl that sings with him. She stands up on the bar when he stands down on the little stage. And during a couple songs, Hadley would hand me the mic in the stand, and I would sing with Brent. And so then after that, we had a party up here in Indianapolis, and I hired Brent to come play our party for us and have him come up. And he rolled in here at like 2 a.m. on a Friday night, and he was playing Saturday. So we got here, and so we sat out here, plugged in some guitars, and we literally picked and played guitars and sang stupid songs until like 4:30 in the morning. And we're like, dude, we got to get up early tomorrow and have a whole day of playing. So Brent and I, really hit it off. And then the next night he played this show for us, and I played a couple songs for him or with him. And then after that, when we'd come to Nashville, he'd throw a mic at me and have me sing. And then one time he's like, bring your guitar to Tootsie's. And I said, what? Nah. He's like, bring your guitar down. So I walked into Tootsie's with a guitar, and I felt like a giant sore thumb, like carrying a guitar in there, right? So I walk in there, and Hadley takes the guitar, puts it away, and I go sit down. And then Brent calls me up on stage. This is my buddy Brad from Indianapolis. He takes his guitar off, puts it on the stand, and goes, he's going to play some songs and sing for you, and just walked off the stage. So I turned to the band and, hey, Pink Houses? This Luke Combs song? Do you know this Thomas Rhett song? So I did like 5 songs on stage there. And so that was first stage. So then my goal was I want to play each stage in Tootsie's because there's 5 stages. So the next time we were there, he was playing stage 2. So it's like, oh, hey, Brent, let's do some songs. So I got stage 2 in. And the last time we were in Nashville, he was on the 3rd floor. So it's like, okay, let's get this 3rd floor in. And he's like, well, you got to come down early, because he was playing the 2nd floor first and then the 3rd floor in the second set. So we came in, I did the 2nd floor, and then we left and went and seen another friend and came back and did the 3rd. So he's got to get moved up to 4 and 5. So I can.
Is that the ranking system in there?
It really is. If you're playing the top stage at night, so like we had a friend Tyson Haynes. He's got a country music song on the charts in Canada right now. He's from Canada. Plays a couple bars in Nashville. He was the 6 days a week, the night entertainer, last set, top stage. That's the prime stage to get on. And a lot of the great country music singers of the past, and some of current day, like Chris Jansen, worked his way up doing the same thing, playing at Tootsie's every day, 365 days a year, 3 or 4 sets a day, until he wrote a song that Tim McGraw took to #1, and then wrote a song called Buy Me a Boat that went to #1, and now he don't play Tootsie's no more. He flies in his own jet.
Nice. So obviously you're passionate about music, but we've reconnected because of your passion in the mortgage business and me kind of doing some stuff with you guys. And so talk to me, because you're in the business, pursued another business and got out a little bit, now got back in. What's that journey been like for you?
You know what? I always loved the mortgage business. I mean, you knew that when you were in this the first time. There's a couple of aspects of it that were great. Teaching new people how to build a business and earn really a great income, and help a lot of people in their dreams of home ownership or refinancing and lowering their debt loads, and helping them with their retirements through refinancing. And so that was always a real passion. And we built a strong business. We had a lot of loan officers, had multiple offices. And right before the market crashed, I had an opportunity to get out and do something else. And from there, I went into the snow removal and landscape business, partnered with what I thought was a good friend. And that was really a business that I excelled at the selling portion of it. I got a lot of great accounts, and I did have some personal successes through that industry, but it was boring, and it didn't have.
But you got to do something cool, because when the Super Bowl came through, like you were kind of a part of that in the mix somehow, right?
Yeah, I actually just got a challenge of, you think you can sell the Super Bowl snow removal. So the Super Bowl was about a year out, maybe a year and a half out. So I just did a lot of cold calling. Went to the mayor's office and said, who's in charge of the Super Bowl snow removal? And they sent me to the host committee's office, and I worked my way through several of the contacts there, and I got to a guy named Jeremiah Shirk, who was in charge of the transportation. He used to be the girls basketball coach at IU. And Jeremiah and I hit it off. I put together the plan, and I presented it to them, and they hired me. and I became part of the weather preparedness and response team. So we designed the snow removal plan for the downtown 1 mile square, and then everything outside of the stadium. And then Populous, which is the people that put the Super Bowl on for the NFL, came to me, and I wrote the snow removal plan for inside of what's called the secured perimeter. So we badged through Homeland Security 274 workers to work inside that area.
Wow.
And we had over 400 hand labor people for the sidewalks, and I put together the equipment and the plan and worked really close with Bill McConnell and Frank Sapovich of the NFL. And it was a great experience. I got to meet a lot of, some of the high level people. I sat in meetings with the governor and the mayor and Roger Goodall and Bill McConnell. And, it was a great experience. And if it would have snowed, I'd have made a lot of money. But it didn't snow.
Well, what's funny is that I've always looked at you, and I said earlier, like the best sales guy I know. And I mean that from the relationship aspect, not, trying to convince people to do stuff they shouldn't do. Just like that right there. I mean, that's a story about using relationships and connections. And, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, how I know some of it's natural and you're gifted, but how do you do that?
Well, you have to meet people at the level they are. Okay. And I think what happens is we get this messed up view of who we are as people, right? So some people will graduate from college and they'll get some big degree. And then if you don't have a degree, then, well, I'm better than you, so I'm not going to talk to you, right? And people get caught up in who they think they are and what they think other people think about them. So as a kid who had kids who didn't get the opportunity to go to college, had to go to work, worked as a union bricklayer out of high school, knew I could be in sales, knew that everybody told me that, it's all about who you know, right? It's all about who you know. So I'm thinking, well, I don't know anybody. I'm just some kid that moved from Wabash, Indiana to Bloomington that was a bricklayer. Who do I know? I'm not going to be successful ever. And I figured out that it's not who you know, it's who you meet, right? You could meet the next person that's going to help you in your life more than you ever could imagine because you get the opportunity to help them. And he may be standing behind you at Walmart in line and really needs help with something, and you can't turn around and say hi to it. So for me, it was always like, hey, how you doing? I'm Brad. Nice to meet you, Travis. You from around here? What do you do for a living? I always met people. I always want to meet that next person. So through meeting people and not being afraid to meet people and not worried about who they are or who I am.
Wow.
That's, really helped me be able to build stronger relationships across the board with people without having a fear.
That, I think so many people it's always about who you know. Well, we only have a limited amount of people that we know at some point in time. But the more we meet people, introduce and open up opportunities, get rid of that insecurity, then all of a sudden you're meeting people. Because we talk, it's fine. We get in a car ride someplace and it's like, man, the stories are just endless. Right. I don't have those because I sit on the airplane. I don't talk to anybody.
Why not?
I get in my zone and I'm it's not that I'm not friendly. I'm in my own world, my own head, my own thing, and need to do a better job of just being likable with people. Right. And I think some of it's because when you're in a role where you're a speaker in leadership, you feel like you're on all the time, and if there's a spot that I can just shut it down and have my own thoughts in my own head. But I just always admired that about you, is your ability just to meet people and just have conversations and engage with people. It's always been super impressive to me, especially because that was not natural for me. Now I cut you off because you're talking about Super Bowl and that whole situation, but through that landscaping business, then you got back in the mortgage business.
Oh man, I hated the business. I really did. It was it's just not a good business to be in, And when I look at the snow that we just had, right? Nobody likes snow. Right? Nobody's like, yes, that crap is going to fall off my car into my garage and make a big puddle, and then I'm going to step on it in my sock. No one likes that, right? But in the summertime, everybody's happy. With the snow removal business, you are charging somebody to remove something off their parking lot that they didn't want there in the first place, right? So it's not like, oh man, thank you, you did such a great job. They're like, oh man, you're billing me for this? right? So it was a challenging business. And, so Peter Brosco, who was my original partner in the mortgage business, fortunately was the guy that really showed me the opportunity back in 97. He never got out of the business. So through the crash and the hard time, and he just kept on plugging. And when the business really started to come back, he started saying, "Hey, let's do this again. Let's build a business again." And we had unique talents that kind of balance off of each other. He's amazing the operations side. He's got a great vision. He knows how to get loans done probably better than anybody that I know. And he knows that I know how to build a marketing team and how to, build a sales team and create volume. So he was really on me about getting back in the business, and the snow business kept getting worse to me. And finally one day I said, okay, what do I need to do next? So I was in, I think, May of 2017.
Well, actually, remember you called me.
Yeah.
I remember I was driving on the road and you called me. You're like, "Hey, T, like, talk to me. Like, is it good? Is it good?"
And you were like, "Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
it's good."
I'm like, it can be real good again,
So, and it was very easy. I was very fortunate that some of the top agents that I worked with the first time in the business were still in the business, and they liked me and gave me a shot, to do business with them again. And those have been great relationships to rekindle and grow, and then of course new relationships all the time.
So when you think about your relationship with real estate agents, like, what is it that you do that's brings so much value to them, you think?
I think there's a couple things. Availability is one. My kids are grown up; they're not at home, so I don't have to run off to coach a little girls' basketball team. I couldn't have coached that anymore.
You could, right? It's not that sophisticated with first grade and second grade girls.
Well, they'd probably beat me.
That they probably would have done.
So I understand the industry. I understand the business. I like teaching people the process, and so a lot of loan officers are, "Give me your info. Here's your deal. Let's do it." And they don't let the customer know really what's going on. And I feel like I really try to teach and train each buyer through the process, because I don't want them to have questions. And another thought of mine in my philosophy in the business is if you have to call me and ask a question, whether you be the customer or a realtor, I failed if you called me. Right. That means I didn't communicate the information quick enough and in a good enough manner for you to get it. So I try to communicate the process better than anybody else. Calling the listing agent, calling the buyer's agent, giving everybody updates through the process, and utilizing a CRM that does that too. But the personal phone call touch is one of the things I think I do better than most.
So I've spent years in the mortgage business and been out, and glad to be in the position that I'm in now. But
I can make a spot for it if you want to come back.
I'm good, man. I'm good. But when it comes to like what you do for customers, clients, people trying to buy a house, like, what's interesting to me is so many people still don't understand how to buy a house.
Right.
Like how to get their finances together, what steps to take. Talk a little bit about like what you do for people that are trying to buy a house.
Well, I think the key is removing that fear of what it is. So many people, like yesterday we worked at the office with even your guys, with Mike and Demi. So we were talking, and they're asking me questions about loan programs, and I'm like spitting info back out. They were asking me technical things, so I was answering them in technical form, and they're like, "We don't know what that means." And unfortunately in our schools we don't teach people, what your credit score is about. To pay your rent in a way that it can be tracked, right? How do you pay your rent? Oh, I just pay it cash. So if your landlord decided to evict you and he said that you didn't pay your rent, how do you prove it? Well, I got a receipt. Well, could you and I make 12 receipts if we really just put a little bit of thought in that? Could we make up 12 receipts and show that to a judge? Yeah. So how do you really prove to a judge that you have paid your rent? If you wrote him a check, you can go to your bank and get all 12 of those checks and look at that judge and that landlord and go, "Oh, I paid my rent," right? And we don't teach people that. So I try to teach people, the steps to do to know that you're on the right track and you can prove it to somebody else. Yeah. I tell people to be like a senator.
This is gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Pay cash for all the things you don't want people to know you do, and write a check for everything else. Right? You know, that senator's not doing something wrong. Can you take my debit card? Right? They're going to pay cash for that, right?
Hey, listen, I've been around mortgage stuff for umpteen years of my life, and I've never heard somebody use that analogy.
It's a great analogy, though. It makes sense.
It's so good.
People go, oh, okay, yeah. I want people to know I'm doing this, so I've got to somehow track that, either through a debit card, a check, a direct deposit, something that you can show somebody else how you do it. So teaching people the right steps of, you know, okay, your credit score is maybe not so great. Here's some steps you can take to fix your credit score, and knowing how to manage that. You know, here's the money that you need to save. And so many people go, oh, I can't buy a house, I don't have 20% down. We haven't had a 20% down since what? 1960, right? There's been FHA and USDA and, you know, conventional has a 3% down program, a 5% down program. It's too easy to buy a house.
If I'm somebody that wants to buy a house right now, and funny, I was talking to Mike and Demi after that conversation going, listen, you're basically, every person in America is basically 2 years. There's some other extreme situations from buying a house. Because you file bankruptcy today, get all your stuff together, 2 years from now, you can get in a house, right? Foreclosures can be a little messier, right? But if somebody out there is like, what do I need to do? What's that process look like to try to put myself in a position to do that? Because, after that conversation with them, I thought, man, there's still such a gap of knowledge around something that, because I've been in the business for so long and tied to it, is so simplistic.
Right.
So what if somebody goes, I want to buy a house, what do I have to do?
Man, you pick up the phone, okay? You call me, because it's a 20-minute phone conversation,
right?
To check what I call your financial health, right? Let's look at where you sit. You know, what do you have in savings? How much do you make? How much do you have in debt? What's that percentage of debt to income? You know, how much money, how much house do you want to buy? What kind of, what size home do you want to have? What kind of rent are you currently paying? Because that's going to tell me what you're used to paying in housing. So you can't come to me and say, I pay $300 in rent. I'd really like to, live in Travis's neighborhood. Well, you can't live in there for $300 a month, right? So it's understanding what that picture needs to look like. And you're not going to figure that out all by yourself. You're not going to Google the answer. You have to talk to somebody that can guide you through what that is. Mm-hmm. I say first we check your financial health. We get you pre-approved. You go out, you find a house, and then we give you a fiscal colonoscopy and we ask for all your documentation.
And you like doing that.
I know. My loan partner takes care of that part.
So I know you're in a business and you're extremely good at what you do, and extremely knowledgeable. But at the end of the day, like what is it that's motivating you at this point in time?
Well, I'm getting old. So I know I got to retire at some point. So, there's the, my financial health for getting older is, one drive. But another drive is really to the point of seeing, so this is probably the best way to explain it. Recently, within the last 2 years, I've started doing a lot of business in my old hometown of Wabash, Indiana. Some great realtors up there from Jenny Terrell's team, Bob Lundquist's team, Lori Sider's team. It's been real fun to work with people that are buying homes from there because so many of them are early 20s or early 30s, and they're the kids of the people that I went to high school with, okay? So to see, my friends that I graduated with, being successful in their own right, but then having their 22-year-old kid call me to buy their first house and being a part of helping some deep friendships, and those kids, really create their first opportunity to owning a home or really getting their start. And I believe really for creating, your own personal family wealth in the future is about having home ownership and having that first start of no longer giving your money away to a landlord and giving that money back to yourself. So there's a real reward in helping, young people realize that dream of buying their first house. Those are probably the funnest.
So with all the money that you make and all your businesses stuff, so what do you and Tony do? I mean, like, you got what's your thing? I mean, I know you got the RV. So what's
we like to travel. So we travel a lot.
So okay, hold on. Let me break this down because the RV life to me, like the RV itself seems cool, right? But like the thought of parking it in a park Like how does that really work?
Well, so that's where we're a little weirder. Okay, we don't do a lot of going to campgrounds and camping.
So that's why when I think of RV, that's what I think.
If I remember, you just drove like all the way to Bowling Green to go to like a volleyball tournament, right?
And you wouldn't let me use your RV, so I had to drive it back the same night. But go ahead.
You didn't ask. I'd have let you. So like an event like that. So like our friends that do play music. So we'll hear that they're playing someplace, and we'll go, hey, we're gonna come over and watch you play, and then hang out afterwards. So those guys are traveling in a tour bus. So we'll try to work it out to where we get to park our RV next to the tour bus and then hang out. When we go to Nashville, we actually don't go to a campground. We go to a fairgrounds that has some plug-ins, like a campground, 2 miles from downtown. We'll go in there and park. And the RV is a place to sleep. The RV is a great way to travel. We have a Newfoundland. So that's our at-home baby. All the other kids are gone, but we have a 10-year-old Newfoundland, and we take her with us. So it's hard to take your dog, a 100+ pound dog, to a hotel. So we just bought an RV so we can still take our dog. But there is some freedoms to be able to go, hey, let's go, there's a music festival in Memphis. Let's go to Memphis, And
do you like driving the thing, though?
Oh, yeah, it's a blast to drive. People get out of your way.
It just seems like this big bus.
Well, it's 40 feet, it's kind of big, but it's really easy to drive. They make them very easy to drive. It does a lot of stuff for you. Like if it starts swaying, the steering thinks. It has what's called comfort drive, so it thinks through that. Sounds like something's crashing outside, isn't it?
What about when you're not in the RV though?
Mm-hmm.
You recently talked me into allowing my high school senior
Mm-hmm.
to go on her spring break trip with some parents, not just friends, parents,
Right.
to Cabo. To Cabo. We've never been to Cabo, but you were like, man, Cabo is the greatest place on earth. Like, ish.
It's one of the greatest places on earth. And we've been going to Cabo San Lucas since, I think 2003 was our first year. Cabo is still kind of a fishing village, even though it's really grown up over the years, but it's very safe, very beautiful. The desert and the mountains meet the ocean, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, we do Cabo every year, at least once a year.
And another thing I know you do is, so in the wintertime, you're not a snowbird, but you like to work from remote locations. Is that what you call it?
Work from a better location.
Work from a better location.
We climb in the mobile mortgage unit.
The mobile mortgage unit.
So this year we're going to spend the month of January in Arizona. We're actually going to go to Memphis and then New Orleans and then New Year's Eve in Phoenix and then stay in Phoenix for 15 days, then Tucson for 15 days. And then come home, maybe via a couple of places. But yeah, I'll work each day in there. We have a special Wi-Fi booster deal in there, so we always have the internet. And I take my desk and put it together in the office. So I've got a desktop computer, a scanner, printer, plus my laptop. Everything that I would need to do what I do every day, just in there. And my business is a business of being on the phone and being in front of the computer and being accessible. But my business today isn't as much about meeting people in person. I still try. People
don't want to meet you.
They don't want to meet.
They're like, I got time for all that.
Can you email that to me? So the only thing I really miss while I'm gone is my closings. I go to every closing. Closings a lot of times where I do finally meet the buyer because we've talked on the phone a lot. But that's the part that I miss is the closings in January.
So a couple last questions for you. One, so what is Brad Niccum afraid of? Like, what's fear for you?
That's hard because I don't have any right now. If that makes any sense. The business is stable and we're stable, right? So it used to be the fear of being broke again, because we started out like toilet freezing broke, back when we were kids. 6 months behind on our rent, car parked at a buddy's house broke, okay? So that used to be a real fear of going back to that place. But we're so much smarter today to not make the bad decisions we made then. So that fear is kind of gone. I guess it's just growing old and missing something and dying, I guess, is probably the biggest fear.
I still kind of have that where like I don't have like this looming fear of my life, but like I do have that, that fear of like for something for my kids, not seeing them or being there or making a mistake for my kids or stuff like that. I think that's probably the greatest one that like is on every single day. Your kids are grown right now.
Yeah, your kids are little, so those fears were all there when they were little. Once they're grown up, you worry about them. You worry about them having to go through the stuff that you went through. You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's the biggest fear for my kids is that they're going to have to go through some of the hard stuff we went through when we were growing up.
So, but let me jump into it. How do you, because you have older kids now, how do you decide what's helping them and what's hurting them from a parent role at this stage?
My gosh, they're all so much more responsible than I am. We've actually said that about our daughter Brittany for years, that she was the most responsible person in the family. When she got to IU, after she graduated for undergrad, she went to IU to get her PhD. And she called us and said, "Who's your life insurance person? Because I believe now is a good time that I should purchase life insurance." And we're like, "Huh? You're 22, right?"
I don't have it.
Someone talked us into life insurance like we were 40. So I guess I don't want to not let my kids go through the things they need to learn from. But I don't know. I'm just there for them whenever they need me to be there for them and let them be their person. I don't try to change them, I guess is the best way to say that. And I never want to squish their dreams, of what they want to do.
Right. And not that you're nearing the end by any stretch of the imagination, but when it's all said and done, and the day you either sell your company and you say you're deciding to hang it up from the day-to-day life of that, like, what's the legacy? Like, what is it? What is it you want people to say about Brad Niccum?
Well, kind of like we talked the other day, to me, it's more about that the friends that I have know that I'm a friend, right? So everybody has friends that are friends, but when you need someone at 2 a.m, do you have a friend that's going to show up if you call them? And I believe I'm that friend for several people, and I believe I have several of those friends too. To know that I treated people with kindness and tried to help them in any way that I could. But they still remember that I'm a bit of a sarcastic guy too, because I'm that as well.
Do you have that down?
Man, I'm good at sarcasm. And to know that I loved my family and did everything possible for my family. It's weird because when you and I first met, it was probably more about Ferraris and Rolex watches and being a baller, right?
So much so.
Gosh, now that stuff just doesn't matter.
Nothing wrong with Rolex still, but.
Well, no, but it doesn't. Okay, so you died, and they go,
"Oh man, he was awesome. He had a Rolex."
It doesn't really mean anything, right? It's just a thing. So, yeah, it's funny how
you traded in a Ferrari idea for the RV.
Nah, Ferrari's more money than that. But you know what I'm saying, though. It's more about letting people know that you're real. You're real. It's not a fake thing. Or I get this all the time with guys at work. They're the key to sales. You always say, "Oh, I'm a great sales guy. I always say, I just make more calls. Okay, so my ratios are probably actually worse. I'll have a sales guy that'll call 4 people and get 1, but he's bummed that he doesn't have 14. And I called 84 and got 4. And he thinks I'm a better sales guy because I got 4, right? I just called more people. I just did more work. That's always been my feeling. But one of the things I noticed is people don't want to reach out and call people or do the work they need to do because they're afraid of what that other person is thinking about them. And I always challenge the person to go, okay, how long do you spend each day in thinking about other people in a negative manner, right? I mean, people aren't worried about what you're thinking if they're thinking you're thinking good stuff.
Right.
So then how much do you really spend in your day thinking bad things about other people? You don't. You spend more time in the day thinking about what the other person thinks about you. When they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about what you're thinking about them. Is that not true?
There's some serious truth in that.
So it's to not worry about that stuff. Just be real and know that if you're thinking something about me, you probably know me.
So I got a couple last questions for you. This is the Mojo hot seat. This is I'm gonna give you a word, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to mind.
Like a this or that. type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So the first one is money,
Useful.
marketing,
No, need it.
business,
Fun.
music,
Awesome.
Nashville,
Oh, it's so fun.
RV,
The greatest transportation unit I've ever owned.
your hustle,
No, that's every day. That's the day to day.
the mortgage business,
Love it. Absolutely love
helping people,
it. Yep. That's what the mortgage business is about.
your family,
Most important.
and Tony Niccum.
Incredible. I say that all the time. She's incredible.
Well, Brad Niccum, thanks for stopping by, man. Or actually, let me stop by to your place.
Dude, you can do all of them here if you
to,
want.
to knock out this show, my man.
No
It's been good. Appreciate our friendship relationship. It's been cool to be able to take off how many ever umpteen years from spending time together, just seeing each other on Facebook and living down the street, to being able to connect and engage and do this thing again, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.